Hi, thank you and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. My name's Ruby. I am part of the events team at Gray Dawes, based in the Manchester office. I've worked in events for a good few years now, across different agencies. So I'm very kind of well versed in corporate travel, corporate events, corporate group travel. And yeah, so I've got kind of a plethora of experience in those elements. I'm here with Nat.
Hi, yeah, thank you for joining. I've worked in events for about 7 years now, both venue and now agency side, all throughout corporate, up to about 2,000 delegates. So my experience has really been focused on both the logistics side and then the experience side as well and engagement. But most importantly for today's topic, something we do day in, day out is making it all cost effective. So today's session is all about small budget, big impact. So we're sharing our kind of best tips and experience and knowledge and strategies that we use every single day to help clients tighten their budget without compromising the experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of people assume that to have an impactful event, it has to have a huge, big brand spend, when that's not always the case. Like, you can just use creativity, smart decision making, and the right partnerships, and then you can absolutely deliver something that is memorable without breaking the bank. So we'll get started, and then we'll wrap up at the end with a Q&A. But just a reminder, I don't know if all of you may know, there is a 20, not 20, I do apologise. There's a £10 Uber Eats voucher for the first 10 registrants, which we'll send out to you by email. So good luck.
After the call. So keep an eye out on your emails. I think a good place to start would be maybe the initial inquiry stage. So, for example, yourselves as a client, or when you kind of have your first brief and you've got the outline of what you need and you send it over to us, what do you think we kind of do to save money at that stage?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest opportunities to save money and to target those kind of spots, right at the very beginning, right at the initial inquiry stage. So whether it's from a kickoff call, whether it's from a follow-up email, or just whether it's from the initial brief that we get, we'll try and gather as much information as possible from the client, or sometimes from the supplier, in order to notice the simple details that could save money. So, for example, gaining the timings, gaining any AV that you want in the room or may not want in the room, gaining the catering, all these little things that you think might not be a big deal for when you're planning a meeting actually can save you a lot of money. So, for example, if you want a meeting room and you only want it for an hour, if you let us know that, we can then go back to the hotel, say to them they only want it for an hour, rather than having a full day or half day room hire rate, can you charge us by the hour? And you'll notice such a significant difference in those kind of little hints or tricks or details that we can give back. Also, like I said, with AV, if you ask for us to not have any AV in the room, then that might reduce the rates. Also with catering and things like that, if you only want one serving of tea and coffee, we'll say that to them, and that will also bring down the rate. I think sometimes they might chuck a package in there when it's not usually necessary. We also like to look at venues that offer really strong in-house options. So when I say that, I mean, if they have all their AV on site, that really helps bring the cost down. For example, if you were to hire just an additional microphone and they didn't have that on site and it came from an external supplier, that can really hike the price up, because they might have to pay for the delivery, send someone in to set it up, and all these little elements, really hike it up.
Yeah, I had we had a very simple meeting that I think in overall it cost about £2,000, and then they needed 2 TV monitors, and we had to look at it externally, and it came in at about £2,000 for just the two. Whereas if you looked at the venue and they could offer that in house, it's usually like £50, £100 per monitor. So it's something we make sure we have a look at before.
Yeah. Also, like hidden costs as well. I think from our own experience, we know what to look out for, but there's like staffing fees, AV technicians or dry hire charges that will be in the initial proposal, but that can be easily missed because you might think that it's already included when sometimes it's not. One thing that we notice really does kind of hike up the price from the initial get-go, but might be missed, and then might cause issues down the line is VAT, the dreaded VAT. That when we, especially for overseas, if we get a proposal or maybe an initial email from the venue, sometimes the VAT isn't always detailed as included, it's always net. So we have to go back, make sure they specify that if it is including VAT or if it isn't, or like city tax or things like
that.
It'll
be in the tiniest little writing.
Yeah, like a little, for a mouse. And then you'll be like, wait, that says excluding VAT. Yeah. And it's like 30%, which makes such a huge difference sometimes. So it's noticing those little hidden details and making sure we kind of like target them from the get-go. What about you, Nat? Do you have any experience in this?
I think also like being flexible. I think if your budget is low for a certain type of event, you could look at, for example, like days of the week. So Wednesday and Thursday are typically most popular, so most in demand, so they will be more expensive. If you can be flexible and do your event on a Monday, Tuesday, Friday daytime, then it unlocks more negotiation power for us and for yourselves. And then also location. I think a lot of people default to city centres, but actually when you know areas quite well, you'll know if you go a little bit outside and what's well connected, just as easy for your delegates to get to, probably on the same train line. It's just, of course, because they're not as in demand, it's again a lot cheaper. It makes a huge difference, and it could only be like a 10-15 minute journey outside the city centre. So for like Manchester, we'd say it's like Stockport
or Crewe or Stoke-on-Trent, which are still very well versed cities or towns, but they're still on the same train line, and reducing your train cost as well as reducing your meeting cost because you're not in that city centre. But no hate to Manchester. But it does help if you're looking to be more cost effective.
Yeah, and it doesn't really impact the delegate experience any less. What about when we move on from that inquiry stage and the clients, for example, choosing the venue, going to the contracting stage? What do you think we could save money on there?
I think that once they're ready to move on to like doing contracts, once they've confirmed, I think that's when we can really play and kick in our negotiation skills with the venue, and it becomes really powerful at this point. I think because we have a lot of ongoing partnerships with different venues, different suppliers, we can often just use that negotiation power to really, really bring down, maybe not always the cost, but bring up the value and greater the value for your overall booking. So what I mean by that is, instead of it being us getting discounts, we can then negotiate room upgrades. We can negotiate enhanced catering packages, AV inclusions, VIP extras. I know if you're one of our clients, we'll always ask in our initial proposal, do you have any VIPs that are attending? And then we can use that as leverage to venues and just say, look, we've got some VIPs, is there anything you can do? And then complimentary breakout spaces and flexible cancellation. Because of the work we do a lot behind the scenes with our partnerships, with our suppliers, with networking, sometimes suppliers will come and visit us, sometimes we'll get to go and visit the venues themselves. We build on those relationships in order to gain better negotiation powers for situations where we want to enhance the client experience or negotiate better deals for you guys. And again, because of this, I hate to toot our own horn, but clients won't always have access to these deals. And it's kind of like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And like I always say, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it does come as a huge benefit to us through our relationships and constantly building our relationships. To you guys as well.
I think it really feeds into the like low budget, bigger impact that we're talking about today, because it doesn't always look like you're getting the price down essentially, but you're just adding certain value, which you're not paying for, so you're enhancing the experience through certain upgrades. I would say there's also an element of creativity. So with low budget, big impact, I think creative, smart choices can very much feed into that. So creativity, if you have someone in your team, for example, with styling the venue, let's say, for example, I had an event where we had this big venue booked out and it was a huge event, and they had these fairy lights put up already, and just to switch them on, it cost about £600. But then the client just got in their own fairy lights, and it cost them obviously nowhere near £600. So it's just just styling that venue in your, or maybe getting like used fabrics and doing it as drapes, something like that. Just getting creative and cool with it. That's like quite a fun part of an event. You've also got engagement and content. So if you look at the, this is like pretty much free. It's more like psychology tricks. If you look at the biggest events, for example, like a TED Talks, or if you go into a big concert venue, you'll notice it's always like the seating's like a semicircle, and then you've got stage, or you've got a central stage, and the stage is always usually like more rounded. So what that creates, like psychologically, is it makes the attendee feel more engaged, because it feels more intimate. So imagine going into like a concert hall and it's like rows of chairs. It wouldn't feel the same.
Yeah, and it'd feel a bit more isolating. I feel like it makes it so much more intimate when you are going into like any seminars or things like that. I've had it in the past where I've gone into a seminar, and it just makes it feel so much more cozy, so much more personal,
relaxed,
and like I feel like maybe the Romans were onto something with the Colosseum.
Yeah, and then you also have so like presentations. So obviously some of us know the phrase like death by PowerPoint. Another psychological thing with presentations is that just do not try and minimize the amount of words you put on them. So do imagery and do like graphs and things that the host can tell a story from and speak about. So the guests are not focusing on the PowerPoint itself. They're interested in like, okay, what's this person got to say about this? So that's another psychological hack to make them more engaged, and it's free, completely free. And then kind of the last thing I'd touch on is you can be creative with it. It's also slightly practical. It's just catering. A lot of the time, you will get a venue that will quote you, for example, for a big buffet. It'll be like £35 per person, let's say. But you could very easily go back to the venue and say, actually, can we reduce the amount of options available? And within that, you can reduce the price, which is just a very easy, effective way to get the cost down quite significantly per person. I know within that, we also kind of have sustainable creativity, which I know Ruby knows a bit about.
Definitely. I feel like sustainability is something that we've seen a kind of significant shift in, not in a bad way, but like we're looking at the balance between sustainability and budgets. I'd say a few years ago, sustainability was like the top trend. I think it was an important impact for people to have on their event, or to have included within their event. Now I'd say, just because of the current climate, it's budgets, but there's no reason why they both can't go hand in hand, and why you can't achieve both. There's a lot of venues nowadays that are either net zero or green accredited. If you kind of tick that off from the get-go, you've already got that impact implemented within your event. A lot of those practices include like renewable energy, efficient lighting, LED lighting, automatic power turn-offs, use of natural daylight. I know that's a big thing for people, that they want within their room or their meeting room or conference. They want natural daylight. Natural daylight does actually save, is sustainable and can save you money, because you're being budget friendly, and you're not using as much power because you're using obviously natural daylight. But low energy startups and setups also positively affect your meeting or conference. So that is another kind of key aspect to being sustainable and staying within your budget. Also, I think where a lot of people nowadays, and instead of navigating towards having a full day meeting till 5 o'clock all day stuck in one room, they're wanting to switch up a bit and add a little bit of team building. So you can also include that team building without having like a huge big budget and staying sustainable. So for an example, in the past I've seen upcycling workshops, maybe with like an old t-shirt or something.
You could do like an old t-shirt, turn it into a tote bag.
Yeah.
Everyone brings in an old t-shirt and you do a tote bag workshop.
Yeah.
And like essentially, would you even need to hire someone in to do that? Like you could look online and see how you do it and then teach everyone else. So
there's all these little kind of aspects. A sustainable cooking class. You can also, if you want it to be more charitable, or if that's one of like a key aspects or one of your ethics within the company, you can volunteer with maybe community garden projects, beach cleans, trees planting, food bank contributions, and just partnering with any of your local nonprofits. It's giving back to communities. It doesn't cost much. Sometimes it might not cost anything at all, and it's good for your well-being. It makes you feel like you're doing something, supporting your local people, communities, and you're giving back, which I think is a really nice, meaningful experience for everyone.
Yeah, that's lovely. Well, I think they're our main
key
key bits,
hints and tricks.
When you got a low budget but you want to make it engaging and the event very impactful. So I guess we'll move on to like a little Q&A. So we'll take a few questions. Feel free to use the Q&A feature on Zoom, and then we'll have a look at what's coming in. We'll answer what we can in the time that we have. If you want more insights like this as well, please don't forget to sign up to our newsletter at gd.events. We share a lot of tips and industry trends, new venue openings, and a lot more that you can stay updated on. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
As we wait for the questions to come in, I actually got my coffee choice was the Starbucks special chocolate mousse latte.
Ooh.
It was very nice. 7.5.
I need to give it a try.
Yeah, I've tried the eggnog, which is
I won't be trying eggnog.
No, it scares people off because of the name. It's like, oh, egg and coffee. But in Vietnam, like that's like the specialty. And I was scared at first. And it's the best coffee I've had in my life.
Okay.
Best coffee I've had. Eggnog latte from Starbucks. 9.5 out of 10. Easily.
We've had one question come through, and I feel like they're on the Christmas trend.
Okay.
Someone has said they're a bit late planning their Christmas party. Are there any good ways to plan a good party within their short budget? Yes, we always plan very last minute Christmas parties. This one is particularly last minute, but yeah, we always plan something last minute, and there's lots of ways and there's lots of opportunities to stay within your budget with that and still have a good time. A lot of venues offer joiner parties, which some of you might have attended or know of, which is basically like a large company Christmas party, but with loads of other companies or loads of different people. So you basically hire out your own table. You'll have your food, your drinks, your DJs, everything that comes with a great Christmas party will be included, and it's not too expensive, especially if you haven't got loads of you. Also, there's a lot of venues nowadays that have like in-house team building experiences, so escape rooms, which I don't really partake in because I'll be trapped in there forever. Like crazy golf, all those classic kind of things. They're not too expensive.
Yeah.
You can get it done within like 2 or 3 hours, maybe have something afterwards, like dinner afterwards. They're very, very flexible, and they're really, really not that expensive, and it does the job, and they're always fun.
Yeah, just a place where you can go and everything's there for you. You don't need to like plan. It's not very logistical. It saves a lot of money.
Yeah,
essentially. We also have a question that's good. We'll do about maybe 2 or 3 we've got time for. Yeah. What do you feel is a biggest waste of budget that doesn't add much value?
Good one.
I think personally, there's, a common one is goodie bags. Because I think goodie bags, actually, if you look at the cost, it racks up the cost so much. But you'll go to an event and there's a lot of events where they have a goodie bag and things inside of them are not.
You don't use
they're
it.
not that, but yeah, you don't.
Like, oh, a notebook, and it's like, thanks.
You don't really want it. It doesn't create that like post-event engagement. It doesn't do that much for branding, like brand awareness. So it's just a big cost that racks up for that. I think you could utilize a lot better. I would also say like entertainment. So that doesn't align with the event.
Yeah,
I think sometimes you'll go to an event and then people put entertainment in there for the sake of it, and then like all of a sudden there's just a random singer, and it feels so just strange and out of alignment. I think it makes a bigger impact to focus on useful content and engagement. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's a good one.
We've got.
I just had another one come in. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Are there any hidden costs that we should look out for when planning an event? Yeah, we touched on that before, didn't we? There's like literally random things like staffing. You need that staff member to move that table for you.
Yeah,
that'll be like £100.
Or they'll have like cleaners or security.
Yeah.
If you know like the perimeters of your event, be so clear with us so that we can go back to them and say, no, we don't need this AV technician in for all day when you've only got one microphone that can be just needs to be clipped onto someone. If there's we'll always ask, is there someone in-house that can do that without going to an external AV supplier? We'll test the waters with them basically. We touched on a little bit about VAT fees and things like that, being careful with those, especially overseas. And then catering, sometimes if you are going to an external caterer, I've had it before where they've included knife and forks, and I'm like, wait.
There's like ridiculous things. Yeah. Like, we're going to charge you for these plates.
Yeah, but then the venue might have them as well. Yeah. It's really small things, but we can maybe touch on that and like include it more in a hints and tips on our website. But there's a lot of things that we have experienced that we'll be like, actually, no, we don't need that.
But there's certain venues where it's more common, and like I think bigger venues like concert halls, is a lot more common. Centers, and then on the flip side, the venues where like it's like a very blank canvas as well,
like dry hires. There's a lot of hidden costs there that will be added on gradually. Which if we get as much information as we can at the beginning, we can watch out for those as they come in. So it's kind of just keeping an eye out for those things. I hope that's helpful. But we can definitely delve into that a little bit more in maybe another one of our blog posts.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think that's
everything.
That's everything for today. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Like we said, join the newsletter, stay updated. We'll have a lot more of things like this coming out. So thank you so much for your time. And if you have any more questions, just email us, reach out to us. Very happy to help. So thank you guys, and have a lovely rest of your day.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. So after mini coffee.
Thank you all. Bye.